Niccolò Miranda!
Mr. Hitchcock, what is your definition of happiness?
Everyone is an artist in their own way.
What I've come to believe is that we need to cultivate safe and conducive conditions for new and innovative ideas to evolve and thrive.
Intuition is a thing. It's more than emotion. It's more than just a gut thing. It's a kind of knowing. Knowing when something isn't correct, knowing how to make it correct.
We need to reclaim multitasking and remind ourselves how powerful it can be.
What I've come to believe
Things that are created
We need to reframe
are not
multitasking and remind
structured.
ourselves.
Everyone is an artist.
Hello everyone, super excited to be here today. A little bit nervous, but super excited. In the next 35 minutes, we are going to break down what I consider to be my main aspect of my work path, that I consider also my love story. That's creativity and how to get the aha moment. The aha moment, it's a spark of insight that generates your mind, a brilliant idea. That's how we knew it today, but we call it epiphany, eureka, analytic problem solving, functional fixedness. No, it's not working. Thank you. It's just working here,
Okay.
but not there.
The other one?
I don't know, probably, yeah.
We'll change over. Use this one.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, click once. There you go.
All right. So, my name is Niccolò Miranda, and I'm an independent creative director and designer based in Amsterdam. So years ago, I started as a job while it became my profession, having a view of progression through branding, design, illustration, development, art direction. In the last 5 years, I had the chance to work with amazing clients, great collaborators that drive me into this amazing journey, working on interactive pieces, WebGL, 3D, commerce stores, showcasing website, and now more than ever, Web3 experiences. But today, what I'm most excited about is to break down with you how to expand your creativity and get the aha moment. This talk set out the potential of using culture, experience, and communicate to create learning environments that foster your mind and digital innovation. And so, someone think that creativity is kind of like a talent, a born ability that each of us has since we were born. Others believe that creativity is closely related to intelligence, or some form related to IQ. Well, in this brief talk, I'm going to show you that creativity is something else. It's a mix of experiences and the ability to solve problems. So research by cognitive psychologists and neuroscientists has shown that the moments of insight, it's merely the result of brain making connection between strongly, weakly, and activated bits of information and bringing them inside the consciousness. Albert Einstein summarized that the unconscious nature of insight when he said, "At times I feel certain I'm right while not knowing the reason." For me, creativity, it's the process to recognize the idea that might be useful in solving problems. Over the years, I've committed myself to have a dramatic departure from the existing never-ending type layout offset. So the thing is, where the insight come from? How does the process that brings a creative idea to life occur? And so what I want to go through in this talk is to break down 3 major steps to empower your creativity and get the insight. Therefore, at the end of this talk, hopefully you will have a better overview on how to enhance your creativity and get the famous aha moment. I always like to have these 3 steps on my process. So the first one, it's knowledge, the power of culture and how it shapes the way you create things. The second one is understanding that find new problem is better than find new ideas. And lastly, communication, a better way to organize a project and communicate in a good way. During the presentation, You can take a look at this background symbol because it indicates to you the chapter we're talking about. We have fun, we're having fun, having short reel, quotes, work deconstructing. So sit tight and assess because we're going to have fun.
I've seen your work. Today, we're going to take it to a new level. We've come to the most barren place on Earth to create. Today, we bring life to the desert. Any questions? No questions.
All right. My first visual memories are this painting on the wall. My father was a classical painter up to 90s, and he's always been his vision encouraged me deeply, staring at them every day, trying to understand their meaning. I was brought up on all kinds of visuals as a kid, and I had a dream in my drawer that I only discovered basically a few years later. Today, as a creative director and designer, I build digital products for a living. I design fictitious layout, solving fictitious problem. It sounds bizarre, but I don't have an education in design. I have a degree in computer science and a background in photography. I never practiced any digital design before 2017. I had the great chance to work with amazing clients and collaborators that drive me into this amazing journey. Has been the field and the passion, curiosity in the beauty of digital art that has driven me into it. So the most important lesson I learned, and the greatest status quo I strongly believe in, is to make art, not money. Since the days of the penniless Renaissance up to our days, artists were driven by passion for art that allowed them to create timeless magnificence. If you look at this art long enough, it starts to tell you a story. Today in the digital world, everything has changed. We constantly possessing the information around us. We can create anything in a very short time. But often, we don't put enough attention to details. Today in the Web3, finally, shaping the future of ownership to promote and connect artists again. And so, how pay more attention to details? Whatever we are practicing, processing a previously stored piece of culture always leads towards to a new idea. David Lean said, ideas are like fish. If you want to catch the little fish, you can stay in the shallow water. But if you want to catch the big fish, you have to go deeper. So we can spend an embarrassing amount of time thinking about the problem, and suddenly the solution pops in your mind while taking a shower or watching a movie or reading a book. So the question is, how that works? So reconnecting with the quote from David Lynch before, imagine two waves in the sea. One is the process, so how the minds process the idea. Another one is the incubation, a kind of mummification of the concept. These two waves work simultaneously with some oscillations. Sometimes you can pick a big fish, sometimes you can pick a smaller one, but that doesn't matter. What matters is how you can elaborate the information. And so we can see in the middle a very high peak. And that happens when you not only catch the big fish, but it happens when you've been really attentive to the size of something and you deeply understood it. So we're working on a problem, we can solve the task, we can leave it aside some period of time, the incubation period happen, and then we have some new insight that helps us to solve the problem. Only you became powerful, maximizing your memory, your learning goes from conscious to subconscious level much quicker. So if you can remember something, you didn't learn it probably. This will be for two reasons. First one, you didn't put enough attention. For example, you watch a movie or you notice a great font into a museum, and you simply didn't put much attention, so you totally forgot it. The second reason instead is you did a simple practice. So when you train your memory, it automatically goes from creative thinking skill, your memory gets better, you become more imaginative. And because so many people have pure memory strategists in the world, one of them is me, for example, they're ineffective learners, lack creativity, and they lack confidence in themselves. And so, as many of you know, my greatest source of inspiration is cinema. It's my signature I bring every work I do. From Swami portfolio, the fading mass transition on the homepage, take inspiration from a transition in True Detective or from HBO, and the illustrative style from the illustrative stroke of Renaissance painters, and the style that Ignazio Morial used for the campaign for Gucci back in 2018. For my paper portfolio released last October, two of the main sources of inspiration come from Harry Potter and Spider-Man by Sam Raimi. I like to consider myself a multidisciplinary digital artist, agencies and studio. Someone believe that who have like multidisciplinary skills can be counterproductive in the long run, because maybe it can slow down the team or they don't have the skills to accomplish a specific task given their multiple skill set. Well, many studies report the otherwise, and I'm going to show you why, hopefully. We're going to cover two major points here, vocabulary and slow motion multitasking. So searching for the right keywords basically is the first step to making the internet research works. A good knowledge of these technical vocabularies allow you to be able to find connection between facts, increase your knowledge, and even if you're tasked with one of the following of them. So for example, let's say that you are new to 3D design and you want to add that roundness to a logo. Babel means design in 3D, roundness in 3D design. So lack of knowledge on the technical term will meaning take much longer to figure out to do it, but especially have a general overview of the tool. So when you dive into a various field for a project, you might notice how these different fields are somehow related in one way or another. And this all not only seeing the big picture, but especially could communicate with the team, understand the problems, find solutions. So multidisciplinary in various fields, tools and language incredibly enhance the understanding of strategy and project structure, even if you are in charge on one task of the single one. So we're talking about various fields in visual art, such as architecture, design, WebGL, Blender, Solidity, blockchain, smart contract. And learning new things for this project we're working on might benefit for you in the previous or the following one. No matter what the task you do, the more knowledge you acquire, the easier it will be for you to find new ideas and solving problems. So I feel like that any work of art exists if there is an interaction between the person who created and the person who's experiencing it. Over the years, typography has changed the way we see things, creating a huge value in how we perceive the digital world. Typography is one of the several key communication elements in a visual identity, and with letters, you can create unique type approach that communicate the brand value. And for me, type is culture as well. Culture is type. Typography are not just typefaces. Also from the days of Gutenberg, we have seen typography as a powerful tool that enables people to interact with one or another and communicate a brand value that basically can be recognizable over the years. From a design perspective, the classic rules and legibility, spacing, kernings are still relevant, and they are being challenged by a generation who see typography differently. So today, we can find thousands of fonts online, or type foundries, but sometimes it's a good practice to think outside the box in order to create an identity value. Here, I collected in the last 2 years in Amsterdam a lot of sign and font inside the museum, and taking photos for educational purpose. I create this type that I call Orfeo. The process of creation taught me a lot about kerning, spacing, legibility, optical flow, and much so on, and how they can be reflected inside the art direction workflow. About 2 years ago, Canopy came out from my favorite founder, that's VJ Type in Paris. He had been thinking to create a paper portfolio for several years now, and so during the first sketches, I realized that a particular approach of sorting glyphs inside the font could cause some problems because obviously newspaper styles without spaces. Of course, typography is not everything, but depending on the context, it can add an essential value to the entire art direction. So sometimes mixing things is not so bad. I strongly wanted to use Canopy because I thought that was really fitting the style that I think of. So after several trials, I saw that domain display solved the problems by creating a balanced weight. The compo fonts give the branding and the storytelling an edgy voice, but especially make everything readable in a complex HTML structure without blank spaces. From left to right, you can notice the different balance with right weights within a seamlessly grid approach, where the right side is more readable even on small sides, so there is no optical flow issue. So if you look at these closey fonts long enough, you can notice that plays a key role, and carefully research of these should be applied to all projects to elevate and stand up the branding value. So we digest information faster and more frequently than ever, such as typography still plays a huge role in the way we communicate things. Design is rapidly changing, Web3, Metaverse, AI, algorithms are playing a greater role in the outcomes of design, and we are moving to a multisensory space, which means that brand identity can go beyond the static and even visual. So Steve Jobs once said, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking, don't settle. First of all, you need to ask yourself, what do I love? And if you get close to what you love, your creativity expands. For me, it happened back in 2015, back on one day I was a serial traveler with a dream to find my passion. I was traveling abroad, Patagonia, Iceland, Norway, and beautiful places around the world. And just in New York, at the Strand bookstore in its village, while looking at a photography book, I came across this basket of digital design books. And end of the story, I spent 2 hours there without realizing, flipping through hundreds of pages. I was blown away by the beauty of the layout. And so whatever your passion is, whether you understand it or not, keep watching and never settle. Not because you have to achieve something, not because you need to chase something, but because it's the love of things and the knowledge of things that's the process of the aha moment happens. In everyday digital world, whatever is your profession, art director, UX design, creative developer, what we do is constantly and unknowingly solve problems. A branding identity refresh, beginning with a client on a budget, debugging the 3D model because WebGL can render it. I would go on and on. We need to stop thinking about new ideas, but find problems that elevate and create a meaningful result that embraces accessibility, usability, and scalability over time. This is a good example. James Dyson, inventor and founder of Dyson Vacuum Cleaner, he spent his entire life struggling to find a new innovative idea to create the next generation vacuum cleaner. He created more than 2,000 prototypes, failing so many times. Probably he liked vacuum cleaners. So while many companies focus on developing a better vacuum cleaner filter, he realized that he had to think differently and find a more creative solution for a problem solving. So one day, after endless trials, he had the revolutionary idea to separate the dirt from the air and invented the world's first vacuum cleaner. I love this quote by Michelangelo that said, "The sculpture is already inside the marble before I start my work. It's already there. I just need to chisel away the superfluous material." I think that each quote can be interpreted by each of us differently. I always consider this as a saying that says, to every problem, there is a solution. You just need to to scratch away something unnecessary. So quoting James Dyson again, I don't think he would be able to come up with this ingenious idea of separating the dust from the air if he didn't have the knowledge to do so. There is always a solution. You just need to scratch away the unnecessary. Well Concept is Awwwards' first concept story in Madrid. 6 months ago, I was commissioned by them to redesign their branding identity and the logo, as well the e-commerce store. So living in the middle between phygital and digital store, the global was to create a phygital logo that could live in the middle and function on a large scale. And so instead of finding a new idea, I wanted to focus to understand the problem. With the current logo, so the process was quite straightforward. I individuate the physical logo and the promotional they use for the collection. After that, I add the key value to the element we didn't choose based on a bitmap approach that would represent the digital value. And so I started to think, I'll fill out the gap to create something meaningful and scalable between them. And if you look at them long enough, you can see that the promotional ones have some rectangles inside that could be associated to the arcs of the Madrid store. So I transported the two logos into a hybrid concept, and using the arcs as the anchor point, achieved the desired result with the fitting output tailored to the spirit of the brand and embracing the digital and physical spaces. Now, ideas are a combination of existing ideas. It's not inside merely the result of information and being able to make connection between facts. So these connections are made during a suitable incubation period and guided and conscious process where the individuals simply take off from the time. So different researchers found that very often having a knowledge on multiple fields and having hobbies helps to solve the problem solving. So Reconstruction is conceptualizing the problem differently, essentially see the problem in a whole new way. I love these two examples to define how knowledge and hobbies can elevate the problem solving. So Charles Darwin wrote some notes of human species evolution the first time back in 1838 that he called the transmutation of species. But he was stuck soon after he studied a book on microeconomics by Thomas Malthus, and suddenly, boom, he had his aha moment. Understood that through economics, the mutation of species and wrote in that notebook what 30 years later would become as complete as the theory of the evolution. Same thing, Albert Einstein got stuck with the theory of relativity. So he's starting to study something else, the radiation. Incredible, when he moves back to the general relativity, was completely refreshed and understood that the universe isn't static. So I always love math and charts. For me, are the perfect way to explain something difficult in a visual approach. Here's a breakdown of what we just saw. Basically, it summarizes how knowledge and having hobbies could improve and elevate problem solving. The more knowledge and hobbies you have, the more chance exists that the problem solving process will happen faster. So before jumping to the latest chapter, here's a short tutorial spanning the last few years. And so when it comes inside communication, I'm not just referring to being organized, but also about the structure of your business. I believe that strength of collaboration depends on many factors, and I believe that whether you are a project manager, whether you are account manager, whether you are a designer, a motion designer, a developer, it's important to have a good way to communicate things. First of all, words are important. I've never left decision to chance. For me, communication with the team is a secret ingredient for expanding my creativity. You will say, for what strange reason should communication should be linked to the concept of creativity? Now, thinking about all the stuff you got to do and organize the work, so you get in trouble, get in sleep because you say, yeah, I did do this, this, and this. How is my day gonna flow? And then you wake up in the morning and you're totally confused, but especially you waste your precious time. So the night before, write down your to-do list inside Notion, for example. Put fun stuff on there too and mark them out once it's completed. When I'm talking about communication, I'm not just talking about words. I'm referring to visual communication, project management, content strategy when posting on social media. So try to define and organize a structure, help this process to communicate with the team and get a better overview of the milestones that the way without having stress. So it might sound bizarre, but this is like a roughly roadmap I created for this talk. I found a way to divide the concept between HTML and elements such as body, footer. It took a while, but this allowed me to save a lot of time during the presentation. Over the years, I learned how these pillars are a truly powerful way to communicate correctly with the team, with your clients, with your audience, and how powerful is the reflection it can be into the creative process. So not because you have to be perfect, but because you have to communicate with clear expectation, and management is the first step, regardless of whether yours is the supplier, the client, or the big-time friend. And if that doesn't happen, try to push perfection because you might raise the level bar on how creativity expands. So over the years, I optimized the way I collect and gather ideas. Ideas are a combination of existing ones that suddenly inside are more the result of having a lot of information and being able to make connection between facts. But to make this happen, you need to have a clear picture of the situation. A visual mood board is not just like an aesthetic function of showing ideas to the client, but is an essential resource for making the aha moment happen. So a visual communication with clear expectation, including UX pillars, a step-by-step guide, usability rates, dev effort, it's a truly powerful way to communicate with the team, be professional with clients, but mostly having the right picture of solving process you are going to work on. A mood board is not just a board where you gather ideas. It's the upside down of the hidden global strategy, a good point of start that produces a great end. Back in 2018, Dan Clever was in this stage, founder of Building Amsterdam. Hi, Danny, if you're here. And he said, work with the best people to deliver the best work to create an infinite loop. So for some reason, I took that sentence very seriously. Maybe it was because I really believed it. Great digital contents come from a seamless collaboration between designers, developers, marketers, illustrators, product managers, and more. So combining skill set will help you not only to provide an amazing product, but also to boost engagement and user acquisition over time, resulting in product growth. The Books of Jesus is a conceptual NFT web experience that I worked in the last 6 months. And here I team up with the amazing team at Books of Jesus, the Paris WebGL developer and big-time friend Amin Montessier. So using WebGL and Free.js, we'll be able to create browsing effect to navigate between pages and make able the asset holder of the NFTs to get a new level of experience. With my portfolio, the question was, how can I find something striking, give the sense of scratching a paper? And so I came up with this idea to use a seamless paper tone effect for the menu and then basically iterate it, fetching the background project and the image one click with the help of the overskilled Clément Rocher from Paris. As a full-stack designer, I had the need to learn a lot about the past few years. A technical vocabulary, for me, it's something extremely important. Creativity can be fostered by culture and experiences, but more importantly, communication. Having a vocabulary where multitasking skill can identify and foster merging brand storytelling, art direction, design, motion, project management, and now more than ever Web3 is essential to shape the way you process content creation. So someone told me once that more words you know, the more chances there are that the brain bring new ideas. Whatever problems you are facing every day, these words act as a shield in the moment that a client challenges your concept, and more importantly, they are the secret ingredient to solving problems. A formula for excellence that I found very useful in the recent years, it's based on this graph. We have seen how knowledge of different visual arts can increase the outcome of a product, essentially how experiences can help to solve the problems, and how communication play an essential factor in organizing ideas and sharing them with the team. And if those succeeds, the aha moment is placed at the middle. I love this quote by Steve Jobs that says, creativity is just connective things. When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel a little bit guilty because they don't really do it. They just saw something. So many people haven't had like diverse experiences, so they don't have enough dots to connect. And they end up with like very linear solution without a broad perspective of the problem. And so, mentioning Steve Jobs, the world that changed the world forever in 2007, I created a chart similar to one he presented for the launch of the iPhone. So we have come to the end of this talk, and here the slide that I most love of them, where I made a chart that explained in details the aha moment. That's how we knew it today, but we call it in different names: eureka, epiphany, analytic problem solving, functional fitness. And so the graph is based on two basic concepts that we have seen in the previous slide. So the first one is good thinking, obviously related to problem solving and past experiences. The second one is related to experience and how knowledge of different artistic fields can shape the way you see things. So starting from the upper right, we have the aha moment can occur while with pure result. The lower left is the spot where it's very difficult to happen. And then on the upper right, there is the sweet spot. So there is like a high chance that the aha moment happens. So it appears that stress impacts creativity, but not necessarily in a negative way. But the one that must impact most of all is fear, because we need to take risks and celebrate mistakes, because if not, the chance to get that spark of insight, it's basically zero. So if you want to be a better designer, don't study design books, but sculpture, painting, architecture, music, movie, fashion. Study the world of visual arts. Different researchers have found that practicing different art in visual arts in school produce a high rate of creatives when those people getting older. This is obvious. Each of us is creating in one way or another. But if we stifle this ability over the years, we will be able to explore and learn about this gift that each of us has. My big inspiration of their design is the 7 art, which is why I like to place cinema at the very top. And then we have fashion design, photography, music, sculpture, painting, of course, digital design. The combination of all these arts definitely increase the possibility that the aha moment happen. So this part would be enough, but to make the famous moment happen, the secret ingredient is still missing. Without the curiosity, the motivation, and the interest, we might be able, visual arts philanthropists, but that doesn't change the audience. We must act with the mind of a child, fall in love with what we see every day, and trying to understand to make the incubation period happen. And if all that exists, then there is the aha moment takes place. And it's kind of like a scratching that it happens in your mind. You can feel it, but you have to somehow stimulate it, activate it. It can occur during a lucid dream, unexpectedly, while you are watching a movie, looking at a creative menu in a restaurant, and it's beautiful. It's a wonderful feeling that makes you feel great. So, summarizing the presentation, here's what I call the 8 commandments of design, or better, the culture of creativity. So the first one is make art, not money. It's the greatest teaching I know. Type is culture. Of course, typography is a proper knowledge of typography rules. It's a paramount importance of balancing your project visually. Keep watching, never settle, not because you have to achieve something, not because you need to chase something, but because it's the love of things that makes you feel alive. And don't stop thinking about new ideas, but find problems to elevate the products and create meaningful results that embrace accessibility and scalability over time. Collaborate with 8 players. Great products are created by multiple brilliant minds. This is why it's important to collaborate with the best to produce the best. Moodboard is your best friend, and Moodboard is not just a board where you gather ideas. It's the upside down of the hidden strategy, a point of start that produces a great end. And then lastly, think, create, publish. Adopting this process create an endless outcome loop of creation, problem solving, feedback, and success. But last, I want to leave you with my biggest reason for living. That's find your hero. I was a guest here, like many of you today, and I had a dream that one day I could stand on this stage. There is a certain kind of person who doesn't take no for an answer. Scramble to achieve the desired result, but you need to chase a light down the path. You need to find your hero and an example to follow. I don't know if I could place myself in that position, honestly, but one thing is certain, I will always have a hero to chase. I will never be like them. But it's okay, because I have something to pursue, and that makes me feel alive. I recognize an imperative problem in the media that the everywhere where we engage, which is not reflected. We are working to change that. So to those who found, like me, find in chaos in the static, unrest in action, and power in collaboration, beauty in animation, at the end, if you have ate everything you made, congratulations, you're finally a creative. Thank you.